the head coach of Hillsdale College football. And last year was a little bit of fun, wasn't it, Coach?
Oh, it was a great year. We had, I said it since the end of the season, kind of all the way through the winter and summer, and again, even going into this fall. We went over and spoke with the Rotary today, and it's really fun to talk about something special like that. Lifetime of memories, with the record and going to playoffs and having Jared, with the Raiders, and, just kind of a dream world thing. And I guess what makes this job even more special is the fact that the highlight for everybody is in their future. Our kids are great kids, and they're going to be great doctors and great lawyers. But we all did cherish that and enjoyed it and took great memories from that.
Okay, you had the 3, 4, and 7 seasons, and everything has just been building. And last year, obviously, the playoff victory and all of the rest of it. Is there any difference, though, in the approach during the offseason after a year like you had last year, as opposed to a season where you didn't have so much success?
You really don't change anything. I mean, what we try to do is we try to develop the process of preparation and have our guys buy into the fact that they've got to prepare in every situation to the best of their God-given ability, whether they're in the weight room, whether they're in a classroom, whether they're in spring practice, on the field in the fall, in a practice situation or a game situation, offense, defense, special teams. It all is the same, and that is do your best. If you've worked hard in preparation, good things will happen if you're doing the right things. And so we really haven't changed that from the first day we walked on campus 9 seasons ago.
Coach, the makeup of the team last year, obviously you talk about the guys that are gone. 3 of the 4 starters on the defensive line are gone. Your starting left tackle for 4 years is gone. Your starting tailback is gone. One of your big play receivers is gone. So I guess you could look at it that way, but you could also look at the fact that you've got a lot of guys back, a lot of guys that know their positions. So I want to talk about the defensive line because I feel like that's the area where you lost the most as far as numbers, starters and that kind of thing. You've moved or converted a couple of linebackers to play that position. Talk about that transition.
Well, what you try to do is, and this goes way back to 1980 when I worked as an assistant coach here for Dick Lowry. The most important thing we do as football coaches is put guys in position to make us the best football team we can possibly be. And so as we evaluate the skills and ability of our players, you try to put them in spots that they're going to fit their positive attributes and also get the best players on the field. So with the David Baker and Ridge Rybold, moving them to the defensive ends, Jed Thompson is going to get a lot of time on the defensive front, and he was a defensive back and just kept getting bigger and stronger and has kind of worked his way into that position. So you just try to pick those guys that have great heart and great desire. If they do that and they're going to work that hard, there's a spot for kids to contribute to a football program.
A lot of our listeners know about Nate English from when he played at Hillsdale High School. He's a high-energy, high-intensity guy. Even watching him on the sidelines, I would find myself kind of glancing down at him because he'd be pacing or acting, really hyper and that kind of thing. But on the football field, I know that he's improving, and he's going to see some time this year, isn't he?
He is, yeah. And when you graduate a bunch of kids that were seniors at a linebacker spot, somebody's got to step up, And I guess as you were kind of getting on the subject, we think back to when Mark Nicolay was the league MVP, and oh my gosh, how are you ever going to replace Mark Nicolay? Well, Troy Weatherhead's done a pretty good job. He's stepped in and led our football team the last 2 years, and now Mark's back coaching him, and just, you go, or who's going to replace Tom Cordy? Well, Mark Nicolay and Tom Cordy weren't on our football team last year that we went 10-3 and went to the playoffs. So always going through those kind of transitions. What you don't know at this point is how those kids that haven't played a lot on Saturday afternoon are going to respond. So those kids got to step up and in the heat of the battle be able to make plays.
We're talking to Coach Keity Otterbein here at the Charger Night. All-you-can-eat grub, $7. You get a ticket to the game Friday night, $5 for kids 10 and under. Still have a couple of the shirts left. Otter, we got a report last week about Galvin. Talk to the listeners about him.
Well, Nick came in as a freshman last year, and and really stepped up. Started a little bit in special teams roles, and then, he's one of those freshmen that got better and better and better, and ended up playing quite a bit of football for us. And as happens in football, injuries occur, and unfortunately, we did lose Nick for the year. He had an ACL, kind of twisted his knee and dislocated his patella. And
when did he do that?
This was probably 2 weeks, 10 days ago.
So it's been a couple weeks.
In camp, yeah.
Have you had enough time to obviously get set up for Ferris and move people around in that? And who's going to take his spot?
Well, we've got, Joe Veer has been in there and playing. Tyler Sanders, a guy that's been playing a lot of safety for us. Cody Henderson is a guy that missed a lot of action last year. He had a hamstring that he just couldn't rehab and get back, and Cody's now healthy running around. So, we've got good players back there. And we wish we had Nick. We did not redshirt Nick, so this is going to be a redshirt year for him, and we'll get him back going for the fall of 2011.
So he'll still have 3 years to go.
No question.
That's a good silver lining in that situation.
Well, you always got to look at that part of it. Unfortunately, he's hurt.
Let's talk about your captains. One of them sitting right here in front of us, Mr. Dorfler, also Nick Hickson, and obviously Troy Weatherhead. Nick Hickson led that secondary, which was young last year but really good. And to have those guys, obviously other than Galvin, to have those guys back, led by Nick Hickson, that's got to be a good plus for the defense.
Well, I think it is. There's all different parts of playing defense, and run support is one of them. Certainly, having the athletic ability back there to be able to run around and cover guys, I think we're much better than we have been in years past. We've got guys that can run around and cover guys, so that's really to our advantage. What we got to do now is we've got to generate some pressure on the quarterback, because part of pass defense isn't just covering guys, it's putting pressure on the quarterback and disrupting the throwing lanes and disrupting routes. So it's an 11-piece puzzle that all has to fit together.
Let's talk about this big fella, Phil Dorfler. Obviously, you're one of your captains on the offensive side, the center. Just talk about the center position in general, and then what Phil brings to the table.
Well, he's the guy that starts it all. I mean, it's just like in baseball where you got to be strong up the middle, and certainly Phil is that guy for us. He is the warrior on our football team. Tough, hard-nosed, goes hard every single snap. Assignment sound, knows what he's doing. He has a great feel for the game of football, but a love and a passion that has made him a better football player. Great, intense competitor. He also works on our punt team as our fullback, which is the communicator of all the protections on our punt team, and just a tremendous guy, an extremely hard worker, and a great student athlete.
Who's going to fill in at left tackle?
Evan Dewey is stepped right in, was there all spring, and has done a good job. The good news is we don't have to block Dwight Freeney. We got to block Division II football players, so Evan has done a good job. Luckily, we were in some games last year where some of our younger guys in all spots have at least dabbled in playing on game day. And Evan's played a lot of football here over the course of his career. And, as you go through your career and it is your time to step up, it's Evan Dewey's time.
I was a big Vinny Panizzi fan. I just liked the way he played. He was really when you kind of look at the numbers, he didn't necessarily break the long 50, 60-yard run, but he was a consistent back. He stayed healthy. He was able to stay on the field. He's gone, but in his place, this kid Joe Glendenning, a lot of people are excited about.
Joe is a different style runner.
Right.
Not quite as physical between the tackles, a little more slippery, a little quick-footed. He's really got a good burst and great vision. So we may see a few more longer runs out of Joe. What we need to do is we need to make sure we're kind of moving that pile that Vinny did for us. He made 2-yard runs, 4-yard gains because he moved the pile, and we've got to do that with Joe in a little different way, and he's going to kind of slither his way up and gain us those yards.
Billy Knitz, I'm being a little bit facetious, but he basically averaged 1 yard per carry on 6 carries with 6 touchdowns last year. I mean, the guy scored touchdowns, and that H-back position in your offense is a really important spot. Where do you look at that spot now?
Well, that is probably going to be covered with 2 guys. Kevin Hershock is a fifth-year senior from Marshall.
He's played a lot.
Played a lot of football. He kind of patched – he's had bad shoulders his whole career and has patched his way through. And and made it. And he is the more physical of the two. There's Cam White is the other guy, and Cam is more the athletic guy. And we've got to be smart about using them without giving keys to the defense that, in fact, that's the guy in, so they're going to run this play. So they both got to know all the positions and handle it that way.
Man, Cam had a couple of long catches last year. I mean, you used him a lot differently than you did Knitz.
Yeah, we did.
So that kind of works in your favor. We've kind of been working around this. A couple more questions, and we'll let you eat, Coach. Your quarterback, Troy Weatherhead, what else can you say? He has been sensational. When I traveled with you guys to Minnesota last year, I've told a lot of people this. The way that he interacts with his teammates and the kind of leadership that you have in that kid, that's really special, isn't it?
You don't teach that.
Right.
You're born with that a little bit. And I know his family pretty well, and it's a competitive family. And, just like every other kid we've got, our kids turn out to be great because they come from great parents. It's no magic pixie dust that we're sprinkling on them once they get into Hillsdale County. They're pretty good kids when we get them, and we continue to build on that. And Troy grew up in a competitive household. He learned that leadership. He was put in that role as a high school player, and just that natural guy, a good, easygoing guy that doesn't put himself on a different plane than the rest of his teammates.
Yeah, and they were having a lot of fun on the trip, but when it was time to work, he was leading in that regard as well, and just a great guy. About Jerry Valdir, who you mentioned a little while ago, obviously playing for the Oakland Raiders, we got a press release in a fax the other day that said when he took the field as a center for the Raiders in that preseason game, that he'd have at that moment been the tallest center in the history of the NFL. Did you ever even conceive of him possibly going to the center position? And obviously you've had more contact with him than any of us have. How has that experience been for him?
Well, he was a high school center, so he
so
knew
he's
how
done
to touch
it. Yeah.
the ball. He knew where to go when you were a center in high school. That's the spot he played. We had heard rumblings through camp that they were working him in and teaching him kind of both spots. He's got the intelligence and the football savvy to be able to do that. So it wasn't a surprise, but more times than not, you get the bulldog, the shorter, squattier guy that is just an ankle biter and going to fight you to the death, kind of like the guy we've got right now as I know I always said that because he's sitting here, but that's the kind of guy that even in the NFL makes it. You look from team to team to team, and the really good centers are that guy that maybe they don't have the length to be on the edge, but man, they're just good football players. So you take that and you give a little bit of length to Jared. Who knows? Apparently he did a really good job. So I have not had a lot of contact with him. His teammates have had more contact than I have, and from all reports, he's doing a great job.
Last question, and we'll let you go. A Friday night game. Brad's working on it. Bob Flynn has been working on it. We can't find a Friday night game in the history of Hillsdale College football. It is rare. Ferris State, obviously, a new offensive philosophy coming into this year. Talk about just playing on a Friday night first, and then what the fans can look for when they go to the game against Ferris.
Well, we've been talking since game preparation week started that Sunday's Monday, Monday's Tuesday.
Right,
so we've put ourselves in a mindset like, I know it's Wednesday, but it's really, we just got done with Thursday's practice. Tomorrow's Friday in our mind. So we've been going about it there. So it's just the next night. It would be different if it was in the middle of the season, but the fact that this is, the first game, we've been able to backtrack and prepare as if this is going to be a Saturday night game for us mentally. So it won't be any different for us in terms of our kids and being locked in and preparing to get ready to play what we don't know is what they've got. So that's a little bit of the anxiety and anxiousness that you have as a coach, not only what the opponent has done to improve them, but what have all your hard work and time and investment done to make you a better football team?
We're looking for a huge crowd Friday night. We've got a good crowd here at Eating. Your guys can definitely pound through some burgers and hot dogs. And thank you so much for the time, Coach.
Andy, good to see you, man.
Appreciate it.